There was something about this time of year that always made Lyra feel nostalgic. And since she was back in Camelot for Hearthwarming Eve, for the first time since she'd moved away, that was especially true this year. Still, home or not, this was the center of the conspiracy, so she couldn't afford to be careless. The streets were covered in snow and ribbons and garland hung from every building. The lights shone in all the trees. She'd always heard that Camelot was the best place for the winter season, and she had to admit that Ponyville Celebration had always felt a bit lacking compared to home. Scootaloo, get back here! You always got your tongue one candy cane. You don't need to go through this again, Bon Bon called from down the street. She shook her head. How did we get talked into filly sitting? Lyra simply pulled down the hood of her parka, stepped forward, and called out, Hey, girls! Want to know where to get the best gingerbread in Camelot? Then suddenly all three fillies were right in front of her. Did you just say gingerbread? Lyra nodded. I used to go to this bakery every Hearthwarming Eve when I was your age. It is hands down the best you will ever have. Bon Bon shot her a look. Well, it is, Lyra said. No offense, Bon Bon, you're a great cook, but I've always found your gingerbread is seriously lacking. Hurry up! We want to see, Scootaloo said, bouncing up and down. Well, we don't have much time until the play starts, but it's right on the way to the castle. We can stop in for a minute, Lyra said. With a look of satisfaction, she started down the street with the Crusaders following behind, wide grins on their faces. Bon Bon gaped at her and ran to catch up. How do you do that? She asked. What can I say? I'm good with kids, Lyra replied. You practically act like you still are one, Bon Bon muttered. Lyra turned to enter a building on a corner of the street. It's right here! She inhaled the smells of baked goods emanating from the building. Peppermint, chocolate, and of course, that gingerbread. Pony Joe's usually just sells donuts, but they step it up around this time of year. I've missed this. They entered the bakery, with the three fillies chattering excitedly. Bon Bon was scanning the shelves of baked goods behind the counter and attempting to peek through the window into the kitchen. Lyra stepped up to the counter. How's it going, Joe? She hadn't escaped her. It hadn't escaped her to notice that he had a human name, though he didn't know it was anything special. Some ponies were lucky enough to have real names like that. 5 gingerbread cookies, please. Oh, and a hot chocolate. Heartstrings. I haven't seen you in ages. That'll be 10 bits, Pony Joe replied. Lyra produced the coins from the pocket of her coat. There were just so many benefits of human clothing. She started wearing clothes every day now. Thank you, Joe said. Happy Hearthwarming Eve. Merry Christmas, Lyra said cheerfully. He stared at her, one eyebrow raised in confusion. They took the cookies and Lyra's hot chocolate and sat down. Cutie Mark all sat around a table with Bon Bon and Lyra. Took some nearby seats at the window. While Bon Bon and Lyra took some nearby seats at the window. I'm almost afraid to ask, but why do you keep saying that to every pony? Bon Bon said in a hushed tone. She glanced over at the Crusaders, but they were satisfied with their cookies and weren't paying any attention. It's the dreams again, Lyra said, and Bon Bon let out a groan. I was human again in this one. I really liked those ones. But anyway, I was in one of their towns. It was decorated just like this, for Hearthwarming Eve, but I kept hearing humans say, Merry Christmas. Where did you even get that word from, though? Bon Bon said. When I woke up, I wasn't sure exactly what it meant. I looked at it up in my books, and sure enough, something called Christmas was mentioned a few times. I think it's a human holiday. I didn't remember reading about it before, though. You must have. You just forgot about it, or something. Bon Bon shook her head. I've never heard of any pony taking their dreams so seriously. There wasn't much information as far as I could tell. Christmas is some celebration that takes place in winter. But as much as I looked, I never could find the true meaning of Christmas. It's too bad. I really like to know what it is. This isn't like what you were. This isn't like what you were saying about whatever that harvest festival last October was called. Is it? Who knows? Maybe we've taken celebrating a human holiday all month and didn't even realize it. Bon Bon finished her cookie. I suppose you may have a point about the gingerbread. She was eager to change the subject that at any cost. It's the molasses, Lara said. You always use too much of it. Bon Bon's eyes narrowed. We're going to be late for the play, she said. We should get going. Lara walked over to the table that the Crusaders were gathered around. Come on, girls. We're headed to the castle now. Yes! Scootaloo said. I can't wait. Rainbow is going to be awesome in this play. Aren't you forgetting some, Pony? Sweetbell said. My big sister's playing Princess Platinum. She's the best. They headed outside into the street, joining a number of other ponies all headed to the castle. Lyra stared up at the gold-capped towers looming over their heads. Maybe it was a mistake coming to the play this year. Staying hidden in the crowd would be a good idea. I've never been to the Hearthwarming Eve pageant in Camelot before, Bon Bon said. And we even know the stars. I'm excited. I can't definitely understand why the princess would want Twilight to be in the pageant, Lyra muttered. She's a great actress, but she's especially good at playing clueless. Are you still convinced she's a spy? Bon Bon whispered. You need to let it go. How do you know she's not? It's not like she'd tell us if she was, Lyra said. This had been going on for a month now. Bon Bon had hoped that Lyra wasn't harassing Twilight too much, but it wasn't like she could keep an eye on her roommate when 3 were literally thousands of cookies to be made this season. When there was literally thousands of cookies to be made this season. The castle seemed to grow even taller now as they crossed the bridge into the entrance, and Lyra stared up at it apprehensively. They were coming into the entrance hall now. This is where the gala would be held too. Bon Bon gave Lyra a look. Perhaps you'd like to take your coat off and stay a while. Lyra groaned, but Bon Bon had a point. Fine. She knew it shouldn't be so much of a problem, but she would actually feel awkward being out in public and not wearing clothes. There was a coat room nearby, so she left it in there among all the scarves and hats. Not many ponies realized the value of a full coat to keep yourself warm, or the usefulness of a hood to hide yourself from unwanted eyes, for that matter. The play would be on a huge stage that had been set up in the throne room. Ponies filled the audience from wall to wall. Dim moonlight faintly illuminated the stained glass. On one side, Twilight and her friends bearing the elements of harmony. On the other side, discord, the spirit of chaos. It had been just a few months since he'd broken free, but now he'd been sealed away again, and things were calm, relatively speaking. Lyra kept her head down as they entered the hall. Their ticket stubs floated in front of her. Can I see those? Bon Bon asked. Lyra moved them in front of her. Now, where are we? These are... Her eyes widened. We're in the front row? Great, just great. Bon Bon, can you look around for me? Is the princess here? Lyra asked. If you want to see her... I can't make myself too suspicious, Lyra whispered. You need to look for me. Where is she? What's she doing? Bon Bon sighed and glanced around. The entire hall was packed with ponies of every race and color, but there didn't seem to be any special audience box. Princess Celestia, if she had been there, would have been easy to spot. She's not even here, Bon Bon said, surprised. Really? Lyra raised her head up to look for herself. That's strange. Lyra, you're paranoid. It's a wonder I was even able to convince you to come to Camelot, Bon Bon said. They would have noticed if I turned down the offer to watch the fillies. The secret is to act natural. They reached their places. The Crusaders had the very front row and reserved for Family of the Stars, obviously. Bon Bon was behind them, and Lyra was stuck across the aisle. Oh, Lyra, are you okay being over there by yourself? Bon Bon frowned. She waved a hoof. It's fine. It's pretty packed anyway, Lyra said. Lights dimmed and the curtains opened. A hush fell over the audience. Spike was on stage, apparently playing the part of the narrator this year. Lyra was mostly interested in his costume. baby dragons were bipedal, and his outfit, although small, was extremely similar to something a human had worn. The style actually seemed to match an illustration Lyra had seen in one of her books. Once upon a time, long ago in peaceful rural of Celestia, and before the peaceful rural of Celestia, and before ponies discovered our beautiful land of Equestria, ponies did not know about no harmony. Spike began. Lines were familiar to the point where Lyra hardly even heard them anymore. It was a strange and dark time, a time when ponies were torn apart by hatred. Not everybody was so used to the play, though. Over in the front of Bon Bon, the Cutie Mark Crusaders had just recoiled in shock at the revelation. Although the events of the pageant got to be routine over the years, Lyra still remembered the interest she'd once had in the play. Unicorns and Pegasi as enemy. That had been hard for her to understand as a filly. Her own parents got along just fine, and now she was sharing her rent with an earth pony. When she'd been really young, though, her own identity had always confused her. Pegasi, like her mother, had their weather control and flight. Unicorns had magic. For a long time, Lyra had neither. She didn't even have any talent with food, so she couldn't just call herself an earth pony with a useless horn either. But then she'd picked up the lyre. Magic had become second nature to her, and she had moved past the entire awkward phase. They were onto the part where the leaders showed up for the first time. Lyra had zoned out and practically missed the first scene of the play. Now Rainbow Dash, Pinkie Pie, and Rarity had taken the stage. Lyra heard Scootaloo give a quiet squeal of excitement. Rainbow Dash's natural hot-headedness made her a perfect Commander Hurricane, and Rarity was just as extravagant as always, but now she had a tiara to match. All three of them were adding something to the normal, predictable pageant. It was hard to see them as the characters rather than their own selves, but at least it was something new. The costume design definitely was top-notch this year. The characters were all so well established that everybody knew that what they looked like, but these outfits came the closest to the popular depiction. But then again, Lyra was absolutely certain she'd seen illustrations of humans dressed just like Applejack's character, Smart Cookie, that hat and that shirt. Sure enough, the influence of human culture were even in a heartwarming E play if you knew what to look for. Lyra's attention was fixed on the stage for the remainder of the play, of course. Even something as simple as this couldn't be overlooked. What was really going on in this story? Hurry up, let's go! Apple Bloom led her friends toward the entrance of the backstage area. Girls, please, slow down! Bon chased after them. Lyra was about to follow, but stopped. There was a guard posted in front of the door, his rigid face staring straight ahead. Bon stepped ahead of him. Family and friends of the cast, she explained. Rainbow Dash stepped out, still dressed in her costume as Commander Hurricane. She noticed him immediately and nodded towards Scootaloo. Oh, hey, Squirt! She turned to the guard. It's fine, they're with me. They're with us. This is so cool! Scootaloo said. She was nearly about to faint and fall over backwards, but Lyra stepped up and gently nudged her back under her hooves. With a nervous glance at the guard, who hadn't reacted to her at all, Lyra followed the others to the backstage dressing room. Sweetie Belle and Apple Bloom immediately ran to their sisters, while Scootaloo just tagged along behind Rainbow Dash. Across the room was Twilight Sparkle. Lyra tried not to acknowledge her. She looked through the props and costumes and a few pieces of flat scenery that had also been stored back here. Just about everything seemed familiar from her books. Everybody thought that this play was all about three different races settling their differences and coming together. But what about the race that walked on two legs and had the hands necessary to use some of these props? They'd certainly gotten the short end of the deal. Hello, Lyra. How do you like to play? Twilight asked. How did you like to play? Twilight asked. Lyra jumped. Oh! It was, excellent. You did great. She grinned nervously. Actually, I was wondering if I could see a copy of the script. Twilight glanced around the room. Sure. We've got tons of them lying around. She found a copy folded open to one of the dressers and passed it over to Lyra. But it's really not very different from the plays they put on all over Equestria. Just about every pony knows the story. Of course, it's just that. Well, Equestrian history's always interested me. Lyra shrugged, then added, especially things about ponies. I see, Twilight said. Lyra glanced over at the window, avoiding Twilight's gaze. I'd better get going now. Don't want to miss the train, she finally said. She took the script and sprinted out of the room. Don't worry about that. You've still got... Twilight called out, but Lyra was gone. Another 2 hours. Twilight looked over to see and saw Bonbon talking to Fluttershy. She joined them. Bonbon, I noticed Lyra's been acting a bit strangely lately. I mean, more than usual, I guess, Twilight said. Is everything okay? What did she... Wait, what did she do now? Bonbon said in an exasperated tone. Nothing, really, Twilight assured her. I can't explain it. Is this something to do with her parents? When I came over, she just seemed really nervous about them. That's when this all started. Bonbon gave a sigh and shook her head. It's ridiculous, really. She thinks you're a government agent sent to spy on her. Twilight raised an eyebrow. I thought every pony had gotten over that after I first moved to Ponyville. I'm not a spy. Why would I even be spying on her? It's this obsession with humans. She thinks that the princess is hiding some kind of secret about them, Bonbon said. Don't ask me to explain it. There's no logic in it. Twilight frowned in confusion. The princess wouldn't hide something like that. All she wants is a report on them, and as far as I've been able to tell, humans aren't even real, she said. But I do need to get a complete report, and there just hasn't been enough information to fill even a single page. I hate to ask, but what if Lyra helped me? Oh, well, I do try to avoid bringing up anything about humans when she gets in one of her moods. It's hard to reason with her, Bonbon said. Quite frankly, it can be horrifying sometimes. She cringed at the memories. Maybe I could show her what I've been able to come up with. I contacted a few libraries in Manhattan, Trottingham, and they sent me a couple of books that they were able to dig up, but there's still been no concrete evidence of human existence. Exactly. Now, if you could just get Lyra to understand that. I'll do what I can. If nothing else, I do find these stories a fascinating part of Equestria's culture and folklore, Twilight said. Bonbon left the backstage area and found Lyra waiting outside. She's wearing a parka with a hood up, again, glancing around nervously, and didn't seem to notice Bonbon approach. There you are, Lyra! Lyra gasped and spun around. Bonbon! Oh, it's just you. I really don't want to stay here any longer than we have to. It's dangerous. She's already heading for the door out of the castle. Bonbon caught up with her for the last time, Lyra. Lyra, I just spoke to Twilight. She says that Princess Celestia isn't hiding anything from you. Of course she says that, but it's oddly specific. But that's oddly specific, Lyra said. She stopped. Wait a sec. Don't tell me you actually asked her. Well, did you mention me? Of course, but only because you've been so unreasonable lately. Bonbon, you just blew my cover. I need to get out of here now. Lyra broke into a gallop and disappeared into the packed streets of Camelot. Bonbon let out a sigh. They'd probably meet back up at the train station. If not, then Lyra would probably make it back to Ponyville eventually, right? The sky had turned orange as the sunset. Bonbon scanned the crowd of ponies in the station, looking for that familiar mint green mane, but didn't see it. No Lyra. No, Lyra wouldn't have just run off like that. Then she remembered. Of course, Lyra would still be wearing her coat. She saw a pony with a hood up and head over. I can't believe you'd tell Twilight what I know. Lyra muttered as Bonbon nudged her way through the crowd to join her. Fuck. You're being completely irresponsible. You're being completely impossible. All Twilight wants from you is help with her project, Bonbon said. Yeah, a research project. That's the perfect cover. For the last time, there's no conspiracy, Bonbon yelled. Every pony in the station turned their heads to stare at her. She hung her head down, avoiding their eyes. Anyway, Twilight said she wanted your help, but if you're just going to keep acting like this... Lyra blinked. Wait, that's it? What now? I'll have to be careful about how much I reveal, but the only way I'm going to find out what Princess Celestia wants is by talking to Twilight. I have to get on the inside. That's not what I meant. Twilight's been doing some research on of her own, and she doesn't even think that humans are. I'll have to act carefully, Lara said, ignoring her. She seemed to be talking to herself again. She really suspects me, but this may be the only way forward. Then her head jerked up. And the gala! The princess will be there! How could I have forgotten that? The train whistle blew as it pulled into the station, so nobody heard Bon Bon let out a groan. You're a genius, Bon Bon! I'm going to close... It's getting close now. I can just tell, Lara said. But first, there's something else I need to look at. Most of the ponies on the train were quiet. A few, Bon Bon included, had fallen asleep just after the long day, but Lyra was wide awake, her horn glowing to let her read the copy of the script she had been given. Editor Chancellor Puddinghead, since the other tribes have refused to make peace, I have decided that the Earth Ponies will do it alone. Okay then. Smart cookie. The other tribes didn't come around? I thought we could get them if we agree to work together. Puddinghead. With the food gone, they just wouldn't come to a reasonable solution. So Pinkie Pie had forgotten her lines and started making stuff up on her own. Lyra didn't need a script to see that. The chimney scene had been brilliant, though. She definitely admitted that. She skipped back a few pages to the scene before that one, where the tribe leaders had been in the meeting. Narrator. The Earth Ponies were freezing. The home of the Pegasi fared no better. The Pegasi were hungry, and the unicorns were freezing and hungry. Even the unicorn's magic was powerless against the storm. She scribbled a note in margin. Wendigos. Do these appear in any other books? Weather was usually caused by Pegasi. If Wendigos had caused this storm, due to the ponies' lack of cooperation according to the play, then what had happened to them since then? If all it took were arguments to start blizzards, then Lyra and Bon Bon's house would have frozen over a long time ago. Lyra stared at the lines of the script. There had to be something here. A missed detail, some inconsistency, a word out of place. She flipped over to the end. Narrator. The three leaders agreed to share the beautiful land and live in harmony ever afterwards. And together they named their new land, all in unison, Equestria. Commander Hurricane, Chancellor Puddinghead, and Princess Platinum raised a flag of Equestria together. According to this play, Equestria had been founded by those three leaders: a Pegasus, an Earth Pony, and a unicorn. So, where was Princess Celestia? Not only had she been absent from the audience, she'd never shown it up in play itself. Not even a mention of either princess. No, that wasn't quite right. Lyra underlined the phrase "flag of Equestria" twice. It had been the modern flag of Equestria with Celestia's image on it. And there had been another thing. Lyra flipped back to the first few pages. Yes, here it is. Once upon a time, long before the peaceful rule of Celestia, and before ponies discovered our beautiful land of Equestria, ponies did not know harmony. It was a strange and dark time, a time when ponies were torn apart by hatred. Lyra stared at it. Everything was quiet except for the low rumble of the train along the tracks. This was it. Long before the peaceful rule of Celestia. She circled it. That line was everything. Exactly how long ago had Celestia come into power? And then when was this place supposed to be set? Not a single mention of humans in the entire thing, and yet it was supposed to be before Celestia's day. Just about every prop in the entire performance looked like something out of one of her books about humans. Not even that, but then how did Luna know about humans? Lyra could only assume that from her brief conversation with Luna that some very close knowledge of them. Luna had very close knowledge of them. Are you still looking through that old play? Bon Bon had woken up and was watching her sleepily. It's all a lie. It's all lies, Lyra muttered. Nothing about this makes sense. The entire story is made up. Bon Bon sighed. Not this again. This could be just the beginning. Who knows how much of Equestria's history has been fabricated? This could go even deeper than I realized. It's just a silly holiday play. They put these pageants on every year Don't tell me you've never seen one, Bon Bon said. Lara's eyes scanned the heavily annotated script. Nobody ever questioned it because this story is so ingrained in our heads. It's just an ego trip for ponies. We're covering up the real origins of our world and claiming that we created everything ourselves. Why is Celestia insisting on this? Not everything has to do with humans, Lyra. They never even mention them in the play. Exactly! The conductor's voice called over throughout the train. Next stop, Ponyville. Next stop, Ponyville. Lyra closed the script. I need to cross-reference this with our accounts of pony history. If I'm right, then there should be contradictions everywhere. She stood up, and the train rolled into the station. And the perfect place to start is Twilight's library.